Hi, this is Yucca with our 6th Java guide on Java development, and continuing where we left off in the previous guide here, going to continue looking at a class file as it's developed and coded, typically from top to bottom. In the previous guide, I introduced you to the package statement, and hypothetically once again we've brought in the concept that you can picture yourself as an author of an entire library of books or code or templates or class files. And what the package statement does is it tells this Java user class that we started creating in the previous guide on which bookshelf it belongs, and basically package statements keep things structured and so that you can find your Java class files very easily. And this is relevant with the Java library which is provided for you, or the development kit, but it also assists other people that you develop with so that they are able to locate the code that you create or other people create very easily. And there are many plugins and so forth and libraries that are used in Java development, and we use package statements to structure our Java class files, and we also use package statements along with import statements. The two are kind of married together and go hand in hand. So this guide here today is going to be about what follows our package statements, and usually remember a statement is a line of code which is terminated by a semicolon. So usually our Java class files, they contain a package statement, and following that we have import statements. Now import statements kind of go hand in hand with package statements, and that is when we wish to use code from elsewhere, we need to import that code. Now Java is an object-oriented language. Objects can interact with each other. So when these class files that we create become objects on the Java virtual machine, we are able to treat them as objects. Now once again, objects have state and behavior, and we use methods and functions to modify state of the objects, and we use what we refer to in programming fields and variables to refer to state, which essentially is data which is kept in memory so that you can modify, test and alter that data which is kept in memory and so forth. So that's a little bit about where the object-oriented aspect comes in, but we'll get into that a little bit more in depth in upcoming tutorials. Before we can really discuss methods, fields, state and behavior of objects, need to show you a little bit about the structure of a Java class file and how we develop it, and we need to introduce you a little bit more to the Java application program interface. So I'm going to refer you to the Hello YouTube example I did, one of the first tutorials where I showed you how to do a very basic application that verifies that you have Java installed correctly and printed a message to the console if you use the console or the integrated development environment. So getting back to this guide today, we're going to discuss the next bit of code that we develop in a typical class file, and we use import statements. Now import statements basically instruct that you wish to make use of class files located in other directory structures, and they provide information on where to locate these class files. So referring you to the first example I did here, we made use of a class which is located in the java.language package, and I'll show you this in the application program interface, and we made use of the system class which is located in the java.language package. Now it's important to understand here that I'm referring to the system class here, and this does not form part of the address of the package which is the java.language package, and I'll show you that through the application program interface. So if you Google for the Java application program interface, you will locate all the documentation for all the Java class files and the information that you'll find relevant to with regards to development here. So we're going to go and look at the java.language package here, which contains the system class file which we made use of in the Hello YouTube example, and everything is well documented here, and you can click through all the information you need with regards to the development kit that you use. And one of the fields located in the system class file is the out field, and through that it most likely refers to an object which is up and running on the Java virtual machine, and you are able to make use of a method or a function of that whichever object it refers to, and you are able to make use of the print line method. Here you have a summary of the methods that you are able to access through the out field, and we made use of the print line method in the out field. Just give me a sec and just find it through Control F. Yep. So we have the system.out_println method here, and just to give you an example, getting back to our integrated development environment. So if we wish to make use of a class file, we need to import it, and we do so by using the import statement. Then we start referring to the package where it's located, and the system class file is located within the java.language package. And you just give me a, so once again you go to the java.language package and you locate, or you find out that the system class file is located in the java.language package. Now this information provided here will assist you in locating and finding the necessary class files that you need to develop with. So the Java application program interface documentation is very important. You need to familiarize yourself with that. Anyway, let's move on with this tutorial. So we've established that the system class file is located in the java.language package directory, and within there we're going to make use of, as we did in our Hello YouTube example, we're going to make use of the out field or variable, and these are the methods that are located within their functions. And remember, functions modify state, and they do things with regards to the data which we interact with as we develop. So getting back to import statements, when we wish to make use of code in our application, we need to import the class files if we wish to make use of external class files in our Java class files. So to give you an example, we could import the java.language system class file, and we could do so using integrated development environment. It fills out a lot for us, and we get pop-ups here with shortcuts and that. And once again, you're encouraged to use an integrated development environment because of this. But anyway, we're going to import the system class file from the java.language package. Now one thing it's important to understand here is that the system, or the whole address here, is not the package itself. The whole address here specifies that you wish to make use of the system class file. Now just finish this off correctly. Remember, all Java statements end with a semicolon, and the system class file, or the little, what precedes the last dot here is, or sorry, what follows the last dot here essentially is the class file that you wish to make use of. But we're using integrated development environment here. We get a pop-up which informs us that we're not making use of this class file. One thing that's important with regards to importing class files, firstly, you can import multiple class files located in the same package through an asterisk. In other words, if we go back to the Java application program interface here, we could import all of these classes located in the java.language package and just show you all the classes. So we can import all these classes that are located in the system class. We can import the thread class, we can import the object, we can import the math class, and to do so effectively and very quickly we can do so by referring to the package. Remember, the package is java.lang and system is not part of the package name, it's just a class that is located within the java.language package. So should we wish to import all the class files or the interface or the interfaces from the java.language package, we can do so through a dot asterisk as follows. Now we get a little warning here because we're not making use of any of the import statements. This is one of the benefits of an integrated development environment. Now one thing with regards to importing classes and packages and so forth is that you should import as individualistic as you can with regards to how many class files you import. It becomes memory intensive to import excessively. In other words, we don't need to import all the java.language class files if we're not going to be making use of them, so the asterisk could be avoided here. Now one thing about the java.language package is that it's provided by default or imported by default, and you don't need an import statement here. So in fact you can ignore this import statement which I provided here. And getting back to the Hello YouTube example, we made use of the system class and we did so in a main method by system.out.println statement, and the warning that I had here has disappeared because I've made use of the class here. And this is one of the benefits of using an integrated development environment. It will assist you in removing unnecessary imports. It will make your code and your applications run a lot faster, and will reduce your code and so forth. So if I delete the usage of the system class file here, I'll get a warning. And so because I've made use of the system class file here, I don't get a warning up here. But if I delete the usage of the system class file over here, see I get a warning here. It tells me there's an unnecessary import and I can remove this. But just to verify with you, I don't need to have an import statement for the system class. The java.language package is provided by default, and I'll show you a little bit more about that. But we can simply make use of the system out println method, which we did in our Hello YouTube example as follows. And when doing so, we get rid of any warnings if we had any import statements, but we don't need the import statement for the java.language package. And remember, an import statement basically is done as follows: import java.lang, and let's import the system just to burn the concept in. And we could import all the java.language class files with an asterisk as follows. We don't need to do so because this is done by default for us. And let's import the system class file. Let's delete the usage of it. Get a warning here. It's an unnecessary import. We're not making usage of it, so we can just get rid of it. And in fact, we don't need it at all. Now, one last thing I want to show you with regards to using an integrated development environment and the benefits of doing so is that when we use the Java application program interface, which is well documented for us, we don't need to go and visit the website for the documentation. We can access the documentation in any modern integrated development environment. And I'll show you how this is done as an example with IntelliJ IDEA. If I put my caret by the system class file over here and press Ctrl Q here, I can read all the documentation here on the system class file. You see here that it says the system class contains several useful class fields and methods, and it cannot be instantiated. And if I go and look at the system class file documentation from the Java application program interface, it matches exactly. The system class file contains useful methods and it cannot be instantiated, blah blah. So anyway, that introduces you to the next part of code that we use when developing class files, and that is we have package statements. They tell our class files where they belong, and they tell other developers, or they assist not only us but other developers in locating classes which are used to create objects out of. And following that we have import statements, and typically we have one to many import statements, but you are discouraged to import excessively, and an excessive import statement, once again as an example, would be to import anything from the java.language package, because everything is imported for you by default. And an excessive import may or may not also look as follows, where we wish to import everything from an entire package. So this concludes the tutorial on our import statements, which kind of go hand in hand with packaging structure. And it's important to understand packaging so that you are able to understand how we import class files into our Java applications as we wish to use them. So that concludes this tutorial. Thank you for watching.